Hi friends, my name is Emily and welcome back to my channel. I come to you on this gloomy Easter Sunday morning, having just watched Ariel Basset's stay-at-home reading rush tag and TBR. I'm excited. I'm excited to have a readathon, little reading thing to participate in and distract myself. So let's get into the tag. Question number 1 is, how is your reading going while staying at home? And I feel like my reading is going well. I am using reading as a way to distract, so I've been doing a lot more of it. Now the quality of my reading is, I think, different because I am a fast reader and I usually annotate to slow myself down and to like stop and think and make connections, and I don't want to do that. I'm not, or I haven't been yet, in a place to read that way. So my reading is increased but different. The next question is, where have you been reading at home? I have been reading mostly in the sitting area of my living space. This is my office/bedroom. I'm trying to keep everything very separate. So my desk is my workspace. I have been really trying to do anything creative like painting and sketching and crocheting, not at my workspace, but in the other room. What I'm realizing as I spend like all day reading, normally I don't do that. I read in between things, like for a few minutes in the car as I'm waiting to pick someone up, and I'm realizing that all of the hand-me-down furniture sucks for sitting long term. Question number 3 is the best book that I have read in isolation, and that would be A Tale for the Time Being by Ruth Ozeki. At first it was flipping back and forth, but then there's my bookmark from the last time I touched it, but then from this point on, I got totally engrossed in the audiobook because Ozeki reads the audiobook. At the end of the audiobook, she talks about how the two forms are different. The text, the physical text, has a lot of footnotes, so you get some context, but the audiobook, she's doing the voices the way she envisions them, and the Buddhist prayers, she sings them or chants them the way she envisions them being sung or chanted. The audiobook was phenomenal, and so the story is about a writer named Ruth who finds a garbage bag that's washed up on the beach, and she opens it, and inside is a Hello Kitty lunchbox that contains a diary of a young girl from Japan and these older Japanese letters. It's about Ruth unraveling the mystery. So she's reading this diary. The girl is talking about her grandmother, who's a Buddhist nun, who used to be this really famous poet and writer, but her work is all out of print, and if you Google her, you'll never find her because she existed pre-internet. And so she wants to document her life, but she sort of ends up documenting her life as the child of a father who is suicidal, like deeply depressed and suicidal, and she herself sounds like she's going to die by suicide or attempt to die by suicide by the end of this diary. And so Ruth has this compulsion to try and save this girl, like whether or not she can be saved, because it's unclear whether or not this girl is still alive at the time that this diary washes up. Ruth has to reach out into this small community to get the French translated, because there's a little book in French and then the Japanese letters. She isn't good enough at reading this older formal style of Japanese to read these letters, so she has to reach out to somebody and have them so it's like a communal effort to unravel this story, and it's so good. It is so good. This is one of those books that I don't have the mental energy to like slow down and annotate and make connections at this time, but it's one that I want to go back when I am in a different place, when we're not in the middle of this pandemic, to reread. And the 4th question is, what's your favorite feel-good book? And this is actually one that's on my TBR as well for April, and that is Alana the First Adventure by Tamara Pierce. So this is a childhood favorite. I think I read it for the first time when I was 9 or 10. This was the book for me that like I would read front to back and then immediately feel the compulsion to start right back at the beginning. The 5th question is a book I wish I could buy or borrow from the library. I have so many unread books. There isn't really anything that I want. Being in this sort of laid off state, I'm very aware of my finances. Normally, I do have a little bit of room in my budget to impulse buy some books, but at this point, it seems foolish to allot any of like the income that's coming in between Patreon and employment insurance. Like it's not responsible. It's not an adult responsible decision to take any of that money and purchase a book. I mean, I have so many things. I'm not super interested in borrowing anything at this moment. Although I have to say that before all of this happened, mid-March, Indigo, I work for a bookstore, Indigo had a staff appreciation weekend, and I placed an order for the Chaos Walking trilogy. Indigo at the time, because the pandemic hit basically at that weekend, and everything started shutting down, deprioritized our orders. So my staff appreciation orders from like mid-March are lost in like the chaos of online orders. So eventually a book that I have bought that I want to read will arrive. I'm excited about the Chaos Walking trilogy. It's something that I ordered because I thought I would have a little bit more time, maybe, when we thought that maybe this would shut us down for like 2 weeks. So I ordered this trilogy to binge and it still hasn't arrived. It'll probably arrive by the end of the pandemic, like just in time for me to not have time to read it. So I'm excited. I'm anticipating that eventually arriving in the mail. The 6th question is an author I want to shout out during this time. The answer for me is always Tamora Pierce. I feel like she's probably set financially, but I mean, Ariel shouted out A.S. King, who's probably also set financially. And the last question, the 7th question, is what is your reading rush TBR? Obviously, I'm going to keep going with my April TBR, which I will link above. I have done a pretty good job with my April TBR already, and the books that I have left from it, I feel like I can make fit the 4 reading challenges. Number 1 is to read a book with a house on the cover, and I actually, thankfully, surprisingly, have a book on my TBR already with a house on the cover, and that is Dear Sweet Pea by Julie Murphy. We have 2 identical houses. This is about a young girl whose parents have got divorced, and I believe they are living in like identical houses, very near to each other, if not, yeah, in nearly identical houses on the same street. Read a book in the same room the whole time. Read a book set somewhere you wish you could go. There are quite a few fantasy books on this TBR. The one that might get me the most excited is The Record of a Spaceborne Few by Becky Chambers, which is sort of futuristic sci-fi. It would be nice to sort of escape the Earth. And then again, read a book that will make me smile. This is on my TBR, and I very much want to jump back into this old favorite at this time. So that is the stay-at-home reading rush tag and the reading challenges, my TBR, what I plan on doing at this time. I'm looking forward to it, just as a structured thing. I like structure, it turns out. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Are you going to participate in the reading rush? Have you been participating in any of the readathons that have been going around? I would love to know how you're finding the bookish community at this time. Is it something that you're finding really helpful and supportive? Is it just another like stressor if you're still working at this point and like you want to participate in these things? I don't know. I just love to hear from you guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons for your support during this time. I really appreciate it. If you are interested in becoming a patron and tipping me for the work that I'm doing on this channel with work for series like Lumos, Illuminating Harry Potter, link to the Patreon page is in the description box down below. Stay safe, and I will see you soon. Bye.